Hey, what's up? We're rolling and going here with GenXican, the podcast brought to you by
Undercover Mexi and
at Saldaña, real life GenXicans, real life GenXicans in real life.
in real life. Yes, real life, meaning you can see our faces
Yeah,
if you choose to. Otherwise, you can still listen to the audio in the old
yeah,
fashioned podcast.
yeah, yeah. We're trying things out. If you're watching this on YouTube, then hit like and subscribe and follow us at GenXican Podcast on Instagram. And you can listen to us on Budsprout and do all those good things. Yeah, good times.
Yes,
So,
good times.
what's up? What's good? What's good? We were talking back and forth earlier about about the motherland,
Yes,
Mexico.
Mexico. And how far removed are we from the motherland? And does that even make a difference
Yeah.
in our identity?
Yeah, and you asked me which generation I was, and I started doing math, and then I realized I wasn't even sure how you count it. Do you count it from the who's the first generation? Is it the people who moved here, or the people who were born here first?
Right, right. And I always thought that it was the people that were born here first. So all this time I've been calling myself a first generation.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I'm wrong. I'm going by what the census and Wikipedia say. So they
Okay.
say it starts by the first generation that moves here. So in
Right.
my case, my parents, which would make me a second generation, unless there is a range between between 1 and 2. You can be 1.25, 1.5, or 1.75. I could arguably be 1.75. Those are the generation that moved here very young. My parents did move back and forth a lot when I was very little. So I did spend a significant portion of my life in Mexico before the age of 5, before they moved here when I was 6.
It's like Mac OS's. It's just like there's a different release. What are you? I'm like 3.11. Or like 3.15. I'm 4.27.
Right,
X. X.
right. I
Yeah.
was going to be generation 2, but it's like a recall. They're like, wait,
Right.
we have bugs here.
There was bugs. There was some definite bugs here.
Let's bring you
Uh
back to the factory, the homeland,
yeah, yeah,
redo a
yeah,
few things, and then send you
yeah.
back.
Factory restart. We're gonna have to reload all that gooey stuff inside of you.
Right.
Uh
And so which generation are you?
yeah, it's a good question. So I mean, my folks were born in the US. My grandparents were born in the US as well. And then prior to that, I believe it's Mexico, or also maybe the border crossed us. According to 23andMe, like the most high concentration of genetic relatives for me in Mexico is in Nuevo Leon. New Leon.
The New Leon, Nuevo
Yeah,
Leon, which is
yeah.
in wait, where is Nuevo Leon? Is the state, right? I'm terrible at geography.
Yeah, I was just gonna drop that out there and figure you would run from it from there. But yeah, it's the state, to
The
my
state.
understanding. Yeah, it's my
That's north,
it's the
right?
state.
North,
Yeah,
northern Mexico.
yeah, totally. It's like Texas adjacent, really. So like,
Okay.
not a surprise. Not a surprise. So does that make me third or fourth? I think I'd have to refer to our text exchange.
Third. That would make
Third.
you third because if your
Yeah,
parents and your
yeah.
grandparents were born in the US, you're the
Mm-hmm.
third
Mm-hmm.
generation to be born in the US. No, fourth. That would make you fourth. No, because it's your great grandparents who came to the US.
Right. Right. Right.
See,
Right.
I'm
Which
still
makes
getting
it.
it wrong.
Yeah, no, it's between that and yeah, what are we this week? Then yeah, the whole conundrum of Latinx, Latino, Latinoa, Latine,
Mhm.
Latinana, Latununu, Lotololo, identity.
That's a
Like it
newly
was
discovered volcano in Mexico.
Xochicachilala, Takimolo. No, that's terrible, David.
It's-
That's so wrong. That's
it
so wrong. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
blame it. We just okay. That's just blame this on a whole Gen X upbringing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like you got to be honest. Like I was thinking about it. It's just like the whole disconnection from like uh, an apathy towards like real political views and like wanting to have a strong opinion. We were just like, I'll be in my room listening to Soundgarden, like forget all this. Like, you guys realize this is all dumb, right? Like, this is stupid.
I'm just gonna make mixtapes.
Yeah, I don't care. Just want to hang out with my friends. So yeah, that is the connection to the motherland, to Mexico. I have to admit, like with my upbringing and with my family that I've seen and that I grew up with, there wasn't a strong calling, there wasn't a strong draw to, because there weren't like people that we were going to visit, there weren't
Hmm.
relatives for me that we could even stay with, right? So it wasn't like really an option.
Right, right. And right, because my parents moved to the US in 1976 when my mom was pregnant with me. And so there were a few relatives that had already ventured across the border, but the majority of our relatives, my tios and tias and all my primos, all lived in Mexico, primarily Aguascalientes, and then a couple kind of radiating out to the neighboring states. But we would go every summer after we permanently moved back to the US right before I started the first grade. We would go back every summer. We would drive across the border to Tijuana. And my parents, for several years, sometimes my mom would accompany us. Uh, and when we were little, and then she'd fly back because she had to work, and we would stay with my grandparents, and then she'd come again at the end of the summer to pick us up. But I remember when we got old enough that they could just put us on a plane. My brother and I, by ourselves, we were in the special care of, back then they called them stewardesses. Uh, so she probably smoked cigarettes, I don't know, during the flight as well. But
Open this little bottle of vodka for me, would you, kid? Because like your little hands are much better. Just my mitts just aren't what
or
they used to
tequila,
be.
tequila more.
Right. There you go.
She's like drinking shots of tequila and like dumping her cigarette in the little ashtray, which I always found the perfect receptacle for chewed gum.
Right.
Yeah. So anyhow, yes, so we would spend entire summers in Mexico from like right when school let out to right before school went back into session. So so that connection was still very physical for us. And I do remember at one point feeling like I had such a stronger connection as a child. I think because I was always a very awkward child and I didn't have a lot of friends. And so going to Mexico, I had like Insta friends, all these primos, like
Right.
it was so much more fun. And
I don't
Mexico,
need friends. I have primos.
so many primos. And so, and just life in Mexico it was more fun, it was more free. And I in the fifth grade.
I mean, if we had freedom in the late 80s, as Gen Xers growing up here in the US, I imagine in Mexico, you got away with all sorts of things, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I just remember like we were like left to our own devices. I remember like, I mean, I don't know, maybe y'all did this in the US too, but since I was a recluse child, I didn't experience it. But um like one time these friends that I had, well, it was the half year I went back to Mexico to live because I felt like I needed to I felt more Mexican than American. And it was a slumber party, and I don't know where the grown-ups were, but we decided it would be a very fun game to go ring people's doorbells or just stop random people on the street, tell them that we were interviewing people for a project. We were like 10 and 11 years old. We had a fake camera. So we were like just running the streets, talking to strangers, knocking on people's doors. And yeah, that was the kind of, I don't know, freedom that I experienced. And in Mexico that I didn't experience in the
So
US.
you were running your own kind of like podcast in
Yes.
in Mexico as a child.
Yeah, I guess I
Well, it's
was.
like this Mexican life. Yeah, kind of like Ira Glass style, but like on the street.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Um, yeah, I find that one of the indicators of the identity uh, is candy. Because I
Mm.
know at the office, and like this was like me having to admit some otherness. Like one day somebody came in with like, oh, I got all this great candy, and they pulled out like pulparindo
Oh.
and duvalin and like all these other things to me that looked like fruit that had been soaked in spicy dirt. And so I was like, what is this? And oh, try this one's the best. And, didn't you have this? It's like I had M&Ms. I had my mom like payday, and of course, I was a fool for Snickers. And you guys remember what you call it when that came out? Like that was awesome, right? Right? And they're like, never mind. It's like, all right, fine. I'll take some marzipan, please. Did
Right.
did you did you? I mean, I assume that your eyes lit up when I mentioned those candies.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I didn't like chocolate. Chocolate bars were pretty, to me, gross. Like, like they're just gooey, chocolatey grossness. But I don't know. They put this gooey fake carrot. I don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But oh yes, Duvalin and Pulparindo, like anytime. I mean, just the joy of peeling open that Duvalin. That's our 3-minute notice.
That's our
Ah.
3-minute notice. Wrapping it up. We just started unwrapping the conversation of candy. I tell you what, though, anybody who's watching this, if this is on IG or YouTube or whatever, you guys should comment about your favorite Mexican candies or candies growing up, or if you didn't have them and you now have jealousy, or maybe you've decided to rediscover the sweetness from the motherland. What's that journey been like for you? But finish your thought. Finish your thought before we sign it off.
Yeah, just peeling open that Duvalin and seeing the multicolor, like it was like the chocolate and vanilla, or chocolate and strawberry, or vanilla and strawberry in that little plastic spoon, and then looking at the container. Yeah, and there's a long list of other candy that was very dear to me, and still is. I will eat a pulparindo over a chocolate bar any day.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I would say that my child has had more exposure here in Los Angeles to Mexican candy, and a lot of the kids that she goes to school with are, some of them are first or second gen, I guess, or their folks have come here. A lot of folks from Central America as well, and so the candy tastes are different. Um, I mean, even something like Takis, which is like, I mean, Takis are everywhere now. Everybody likes Takis, but just like the fact that my kid will be like, "Hey, can we get Takis?" Like she like conned my wife into them getting a bag of Takis yesterday, and she was like totally stoked because that's the thing that she gets at school. So like now she's more hip to that scene of confections from south of the border than I am. So
Do you think through her that it's helped you? I mean, you talked about, like, I think that the theme we're taking away is that I, being generationally closer to the homeland, had more of an identity connection to being, to Mexico. But for you, do you think that changed, especially, moving to Los Angeles or through your child?
yeah, moving to Los Angeles, being more steeped particularly from like Oregon, right? And Texas, it's a little bit different because I felt like the identity that we had was very Mexican American and very Mexican American suburban and Tejano, and this sort of just East Side Austin kind of like identity of what it meant to be Mexican there, which is very much its own thing. It's very Mexican American. It's separate. So coming to LA, yeah, it's been more identification, and with my kid as well, very much so. Very much so, I would say, yeah.
Right.
Well, Well, cool. I guess we should sign it off since we're keeping things brief for
Brief.
ourselves.
Not
Yeah.
boxers, but brief.
Not boxers, but briefs. So yeah,
Chones.
yeah. So you guys follow us at our Instagram handle is what? It's at GenXican podcast, right?
That's right.
At GenXican podcast, and you can follow us on YouTube as well. Like and subscribe if you're listening to us there. I'm David Saldaña at Saldanation. Oh, also follow at Mexicandroid, my little web doodle, and Alexandra.
Yes, Alexandra or Alexandra Maria Landeros at Undercover Mexi.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll see you next time.
Next
Peace
time.
out. I gotta find the button now. I gotta get smoother on this.